Good evening, Clarion. I'm Matt Knoedler, and tonight on Face the Campus, we take a look at the internet sales tax bill that just was passed by the Senate and now moves on to the GOP-controlled House. Is it a fair bill? We'll take a look at that coming up. We'll also take a look at New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. He got lap band surgery in February, and news just coming out this week. We'll let you know what that means if he runs for president in 2016. Also this week, we'll take a look at Delaware became the 11th state to legalize same-sex marriage. Can we expect a federal law anytime soon? We'll let you know coming up. Stay tuned. Face the Campus starts now. You may think you're getting a deal when you shop tax-free online, but states are missing out on an estimated tens of millions of dollars in tax revenue. Now Congress is taking action to change that. Martha Shade has more in Consumer Watch.
Americans may soon have to say goodbye to tax-free shopping online. Now that the U.S. Senate has passed the Marketplace Fairness Act, online retailers are one step closer to collecting mandatory sales tax. Supporters of the bill include President Obama and big box retailers like Target and Walmart, which think the bill will level the playing field.
It's not an internet sales tax. It's the same sales tax they would pay if they walked into their local store and bought something over the counter today. It's just that the online competition doesn't currently have to collect it for every state.
eBay is leading the charge against the bill. The online marketplace thinks smaller businesses should not have to comply. Other opponents include conservatives and anti-tax activists.
A brick-and-mortar business has to comply with one set of sales tax laws. These internet providers would have to comply with 9,600 state and local sales taxes across the country.
Under the proposed law, people in states that have sales tax would pay the same amount of sales tax as they would in a store. Check out the interactive map on taxcloud.net to get an idea of what you'll pay in your state. The Marketplace Fairness Act still needs to pass the GOP-controlled House before it becomes law. For today's Consumer Watch, I'm Martha Shade.
And joining us tonight here on Face the Campus, the last show for the year, the school year that is, we have Greg Jacobs as our conservative analyst. He is the VP of the Clarion College Conservatives. Greg, glad to have you on for your last show.
Yeah,
senior.
Thank you.
Senior.
Yeah.
Also, her last show was senior as well. Erin Krotosinski, our liberal analyst here, a pre-law major here at Clarion, soon to be going to law school. Erin, congratulations, and thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, no problem.
This is kind of a complex bill so far, guys, going through the Senate, again, passed in the Senate, 70 to 24, as you saw in that report. It goes on to the House now, and Greg, give us your thoughts on this bill and what you expect to see going into the GOP-controlled House.
Okay. I don't think, well, I don't really know what to expect. I feel like that it's not going to go through. Just due to the fact that right now, like what we were talking about earlier, there's a lot of red tape with it, and there's a lot of questions that are still going on right now that aren't really pretty much solved. But this is what we've been talking about this year, last year, just about how the government just keeps increasing our taxes. Instead of or like Obama keeps saying how he promises he won't increase our taxes. No, but instead of increasing, they just create more. They just find different ways. Oh, well, they're not getting taxed here. Let's tax them here. Let's tax them here. What the states need to stop the spending or bring down the spending and stop coming after the consumer, especially when our economy is doing not phenomenal.
It is still a bit fragile.
It's still fragile, and then they want to throw another tax on the consumer on top of that. And it's not only taxing the consumer, it's really going to damage a lot of these small businesses, especially in towns like Clarion.
Erin, give us your thoughts, and we talk about Clarion, you look at it on a smaller scale, a more local scale. Do you see the same problems that Greg is with this bill, or do you think that this is sort of what's needed to get that equal taxation across the board?
I know a lot of news reporters and everything I've heard, it's kind of like not so much as making a new tax, it's more so enforcing taxes that are already there in existence. So it's just, but it's still going to be up in the air on whether it's going to go through. And I know, like you said, there's a lot of red tape around this. So, I mean, even us, we kind of were unsure with some of the specifics on this. So how are senators who are writing this know exactly what's going into this bill? I mean, I just don't think the Republicans will get enough vote on that side. The Dems will be back and forth about it. I know John Boehner said he wouldn't support it regardless. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
And we've seen really a lot of, just as we mentioned, confusion on this bill. So Greg, you know, One of the things that is certain about this bill, though, in the eyes of many, is that it would create that equal playing field of taxation across the board, that there are certain loopholes that would be gone. Why not create that level playing field?
Okay, and this kind of brings up a whole different category, which we've talked about previously on the show as well. Right now, with our government, they come out with different taxes, they come out with a different tax way, they keep adding more onto it, and then they find another loophole and throw more and cover up another loophole. The answer to this is simple, and we've talked about this, like I said before, it's the flat tax. It's tax everybody equally, tax everybody's income straight off the bat, and that's it. There's no more taxes. It's something that you can fill out your taxes and do it yourself without paying thousands of dollars to an accountant to do each year for you, and you can do it on just a postcard and mail it right back in. It's just phenomenal. It's just amazing how the government just wants to keep throwing more and more taxes at us and making it more and more complicated with more and more loopholes that someone else is going to find later on. Then we're going to have another issue like this later down the road to get covered up.
A lot of people say that the flat tax is something that does benefit conservatives. Do you have a quick response to that?
Yeah. Well, the flat tax actually benefits everybody. The reason why the flat tax is actually really
All right,
popular.
I should say instead of conservatives, the rich. So I should say it's more.
Well,
specifically
actually,
the rich.
I've actually never heard of that. It actually doesn't benefit the rich because it's a percentage overall. If you're rich, you get, okay, let's say 10%, which is low, but let's just say 10%. So they pay 10%. So if they make $1 million times more than what I do a year, they're going to be paying $1 million times more in taxes a year than what I do. It's all percentages of what you make. So it's actually the most fair, and it actually benefits the poor the most because they're getting taxed now more than what they should, and it's what's affecting the poverty rate right now, which we have a lot of problems with.
All right, Aaron, give us your thoughts on really the equal playing field this bill could create among retailers, both the brick and mortar retailers, the actual stores, and the online retailers, and moreover that flat tax. Something I should clarify is that was a big Democratic proposal really during the well, we saw a lot of Republicans say that, and the Democrats countered with saying that was a very Republican, conservative, or rich benefit, the flat tax. But give us your thoughts on that and how the equal playing field could benefit people.
Definitely the equal playing field would be the best bet if they're going to impose taxes among, just to even the playing field among actual stores and online stores, just because I know that'll be a problem we'll kind of drive away from online if they don't do it that way. But as far as the flat tax among everything else, I still don't know how that's going to go out because we haven't had that in the United States ever, and there's no research behind it to be like this will work, this won't work. I know, and if they do the flat tax, they're going to have to close a lot of those loopholes that we have in our system now. So.
And a big beauty of the flat tax is there are no loopholes. There's no loopholes. It's a set amount. Everybody pays this amount. You can do it on a calculator or in your head yourself based off your income. There's absolutely no loopholes. Right now there are so many loopholes that the rich are taking advantage of, the poor, everybody's taking advantage or trying to take advantage of these loopholes. Yeah. And it's actually statistically proven that the system we have now benefits the rich more than ever because they can afford to pay the accountant tens of thousands of dollars to find the loopholes and then to send a lobbyist to Washington to create another loophole.
To basically get those loopholes back into place.
Yeah, exactly. So it only benefits those who can actually really afford it. So the flat tax overall it's the most way to have an equal playing field.
One last point I want to make before we head to break. Really, we've talked about the red tape. How would you propose getting rid of that?
There would be the flat tax.
Perhaps what you've already said.
It would be exactly the flat tax. And something that I was talking to you about before we went on the show, this is going to really hurt, and it's been in the news a lot, how it's going to really hurt small businesses. And being in Clarion, I can see a lot of, for example, the bike shop right down on Main Street. I purchased a bike from him a while ago, and he mentioned how a large amount of his sales are online because he's not able to sell a lot in Clarion. So I don't know for a fact, but that could really damage his business, and that could really affect him staying in business or not.
We could see a lot of small businesses hurt by this, Aaron. So how would you suggest cutting that red tape?
Definitely just the flat tax if they're going to go about doing that. I know eBay was trying to push through getting a small business tax reduction. So that could.
And that's another loophole that
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, I know.
It's all about finding the loopholes right now.
Someone's always going to find those loopholes.
Yeah, exactly. But they're just putting all their time and energy into finding a way around it. When the flat tax, it can't get any more simple or more fair than that. And it's amazing.
We'll see if the GOP proposes that as the bill heads to the GOP-controlled House coming up this week, actually. So we'll follow that, of course, over the summer. It's tough to say. I was going to say next week. Tough to say, but we'll have that over the summer.
Well, I won't be here for that one.
Yeah. We'll have to text
Yeah,
it.
we neither of us will.
We're going to take a
Skype
break.
in.
We'll take a break here on Face the Campus. When we come back, one of the stories that I'm sure we'll be talking about for years to come is Chris Christie and what he's going to do not only down the road for the GOP nomination, but he had a big announcement this week. We'll tell you what that was and what it could mean for not only his personal health, but the presidential race down the road. Stay tuned.
Sweet treats are just an order away. With a wide variety of options and a friendly, informed staff, you can get just the thing you need to satisfy that craving.
We are open year-round, and our frozen custard is made fresh daily.
In a hurry? Don't fret. The Meadows has a convenient drive-thru for your busy days. The Meadows is located at 22671 Route 68 near the Clarion Mall.
Get caught buzz driving, and you could do some hard time.
Craig, knock it off.
Sorry, Mom.
It could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. And that could set you back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Have all your printing, copying, and promotional needs met at Pages, Clarion University's own printing and graphics express service. Open to faculty and students, Pages can print and design posters and vinyl banners to help promote your big event. Our state-of-the-art wide format printer allows you to get your items printed at lightning fast speed. All of your organization's promotional needs, from clothing and pens to keychains and mugs, can be easily and quickly made. With new machines, Pages is your one-stop shop for all of your quality printing and processing needs. Call us at 814-393-2679.
Governor Chris Christie reveals that he secretly underwent lap band surgery. It's been weeks now since Christie underwent the knife, but Mary Snow explains that the public, or explains what he tells the public after a reporter found out about his weight loss procedure.
For 12 weeks, New Jersey Governor Chris Christie kept his secret, but now he's talking about having weight loss surgery in February.
The steps I've taken recently are for me and for Mary Pat and the kids. And, you know, if asked about it, I would have never lied about it. But, you know, it's not anybody else's business but mine.
A reporter did ask about it, and Christie went public. He says the surgery was not an easy decision.
It's pretty hard. I mean, you know, surgery is surgery, and you never want to approach that lightly, and I certainly didn't. But on the other hand, you know, I knew it was something that I felt like I needed to do.
The surgery was done shortly after a public furor about his weight, which started with a joke on the David Letterman show.
I'm like basically the healthiest fat guy you've ever seen in your life.
After that appearance, a former White House physician told CNN she was concerned about Christie's ability to run for president.
I worry that he may have a heart attack, he may have a stroke. It's almost like a time bomb waiting to happen.
Christie fired back, calling her a hack.
If she wants to examine me and review my medical history, I'll have a conversation with her about that. Until that time, she should shut up.
Christie says the publicity had nothing to do with the lap band surgery that was originally set for November, but got scrapped because of Superstorm Sandy. Bariatric surgeon Dr. A.J. Goyle, who is not involved in Christie's care, says the procedure takes about 45 minutes.
You're putting a belt, basically putting a belt on the upper part of the stomach, and it has a balloon on it inside.
And you feel fuller faster.
You feel fuller faster.
Christie, who turned 50 in September, says his age and his family, not his political future, played a big part in his decision. But that's not quieting speculation about a potential White House run, especially since Christie's weight did become a factor in the 2009 governor's race. Opponent John Corzine alluded to it in an unflattering ad. New Jersey pollster Patrick Murray says as governor, Christie's weight isn't an issue, but he believes that will change if he runs for president.
But with 2016 looming on the horizon, I think that gave that just an extra push him to say, look, I don't want to give anybody a reason to think ill of me, to not consider voting for me just simply because of the way I look physically.
Chris Christie, of course, one of the most prominent figures in the GOP on the national level, and he's running for re-election in New Jersey, so he's going to be kind of in the news headlines for the next couple of years. So, Aaron, we'll start with you. You know, losing weight, he says it's on a personal level. Obviously, a great thing that he's doing this. What do you think this means for his political chances down the road? Should he run for president?
I think that he's doing this just personally, but politically speaking, we like pretty presidents. Like, we like people who look good. So, I mean, this is going to be beneficial to Chris Christie once he loses all this weight, and he'll just look like he'll just give a better appearance, so people may take that into consideration.
And we saw a lot of people, of course, you talk about the pretty presidents, a lot of people always said that, President Obama, there was a big infatuation with him among a lot of young people, not only him, and you look at JFK, there is sort of a trend, and so Chris Christie might have that battle against him. Greg, give us your thoughts here, really. Again, it's going to take a little time. People say, he doesn't look like he lost a lot of weight. This is something that does take a little bit of time.
Yep.
So give us your thoughts on what this could mean for his chances down the road.
I was kind of saying this all along, that I think that I'm kind of surprised that he didn't run in the last election. But like I said before, I think that he's going to take the same route as what Huckabee did. I don't know if you remember, Mike Huckabee weighed about the same weight, if not more. And he lost weight over time and then ran for president after he lost it. And like you were saying, it's kind of rude to say, and it sounds weird to say it, but people do judge people by the way they look. And it's kind of a joke that what kind of president will we end up if we only heard their voice and never saw what they look like? And
well, you think about Taft. You think about Howard Taft back in the day.
Yep.
He was another very large guy. Of course, there was always the joke about him getting stuck in the bathtub in the White House. And you see Christie sitting in the chair on David Letterman. So those kind of jokes would be too easy, and that's I think a very good thing if you were a Chris Christie supporter, or perhaps a GOP supporter of any candidate. And you bring up Huckabee, another very good point. I had a chance to talk to him at the RNC earlier this year, and it was a big difference. You could tell he lost a lot of weight, and it made a big difference.
And it looks like he's actually putting it back on now.
He is a little bit.
He's starting to pack him back on.
What difference a year can make as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Last point before we go to break, guys. He's, as I mentioned, he's running for re-election in New Jersey. Aaron, do you think that's going to make a big difference in New Jersey, a place where he's already really popular, or do you think that this is kind of just something that, again, the personal health side is what's important to him?
Definitely the personal health side. I know that, people of New Jersey really love him, so it is what it is. They're not going to really see a big change in the next couple years. It's not going to come out until pretty much the presidential election in 2016. So we'll see how that goes.
And Greg, give us your thoughts here. Again, New Jersey already pretty partial to Chris Christie. Is this going to make a big difference, or do you believe that part actually does play a lot of role in his personal health?
I think right now, time being, I think it doesn't really matter. But I think for the long run, if he's looking to be president or higher up in politics, I think it would.
All right, well, we're going to head the break here on Face the Campus. When we come back, we'll take a look at another state. Delaware becomes the 11th state to legalize same-sex marriage. It did that on Tuesday. We'll talk about whether or not a federal law could be in the works. Stay tuned.
One of the best deals in town is now even better with your My Sheets card. From food to gas, you save on nearly everything at Sheets, and the deals don't stop there. Go online and find a full complement to the My Sheets card, where you can get access to exclusive deals that are redeemable at all Sheets locations. Sign up is quick and easy, and the card also allows you to pay after you pump. Don't delay, head to the Clarion Sheets on East Main Street and get your My Sheets card today.
Two outs with a runner on first base. Now the big guy comes up to bat, hitting .342 with 92 RBIs and 36 homers.
Chill raw and prepared foods promptly. 1 in 6 Americans will get sick from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov. Clean kitchen surfaces, utensils, and hands with soapy water. 1 in 6 Americans will get sick from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
Delaware became the 11th state to legalize same-sex marriage on Tuesday after 2 senators provided key swing votes to pass the bill by a vote of 12-9. Delawareans will be able to enter into same-sex marriages starting on July 1st, while also allowing existing same-sex civil unions established in Delaware to be marriages. So analysts, this has sort of always been a hot-button topic we've seen over the course of this year and ever since President Obama officially announced his support for same-sex marriage. Greg, we'll start with you. Give us your thoughts on this law. And of course, there's a lot of politics to it. A 12-9 vote, we're seeing a member of each party, Democrats and Republicans, come together on this bill. What does that mean?
It means that in that state, and it means that the people elected in that state think it should be okay, think it should happen in their state. And once again, we've talked about this a lot as well, and I personally do not think that it should pass. I personally think that it is not America. I think that we need to draw a line somewhere, and the way that it was drawn, it needs to stay.
Keeping marriage as one man, one woman.
Keeping marriage, one man, one woman. I think that we start going this route, it's going to be a steep, slippery slope. There needs to be a line. 50 years ago, this was looked at like, oh my gosh, these guys are whacked. Like, or it was looked at.
It was something that was out of the norm.
It was looked at very negatively. Like it was as crazy as who would possibly think that way. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, I don't know, like we've talked about before in the show, like NAMBLA. I don't know if you've ever heard of NAMBLA. It's the Man Boy Love Association. They started in the early 90s. They have a website, and they were asked to take it down, and they were charged for all this stuff because it was such a ridiculous thought. And now they're becoming more and more prominent. They have a website up with the whole Sandusky trial. They were fronting that. They were trying to push their viewpoints. All these people were coming up saying how they think it should be okay that a 40-year-old man should have relations with a 10-year-old kid. So things like that we're allowed to marry animals or marry our son.
So you're saying that
the line?
They're
exactly.
very slippery slope.
Exactly, and we have to draw the line somewhere. We already created the line, and everything's fine, and that's the way it should be.
Aaron, give us your thoughts. And as you can see, this can be a very passionate debate, something that would probably be better for a whole show rather than a particular block. But give us your thoughts on the Delaware bill. It's making the 11th state. I mean, we're slowly going one by one. A lot of states on the East Coast as well. Pennsylvania kind of blocked in between states that have it. But give us your thoughts here on the Delaware law.
I actually think it's awesome that they did this. It's creating just great equality within Delaware. I know the civil union laws, or your rights you get with the civil union, are very similar, if not similar, to your marriage laws, but just transitioning between a civil union and a marriage is just dignifying these couples' relationships. And I don't think it's a slippery slope.
So what about my horse at home?
Well, let's keep it to the people thing for now. Okay,
yeah,
we'll
but
keep
you have to look at it as in,
I understand it could be a slippery slope as far as this goes. I mean, we'll keep it to the Delaware law, and then we can dive into that for a moment. But thoughts on the Delaware? Well, I'll bridge this into the next question. We've seen Delaware again, as I said, the 11th state that has a favorable same-sex marriage law. At what point could we see a federal law proposed?
I don't think it's going to happen soon. I think it could happen. I think right now they kind of want to leave it to the states and let the states decide and see how it plays out. But
so you're thinking it could be states for now and then bridge in later.
Yeah.
Aaron, give us your thoughts on the potential of a federal law. Of course, there isn't one yet. A very divided Congress on this issue as well. But President Obama has announced his support. When do you expect to see a federal law proposed?
I definitely think it's going to be long-term, like he said. But I secretly want to hope, just because Obama's officially endorsed gay marriage, I want to hope by the end of his term, when he doesn't really have any obligations anymore, like lame duck period, that he comes in and is like, all right, guys, this is what needs to happen.
Do you expect to see an executive order on this by chance? I mean, that's been his big thing.
I mean, I really want to see it, but I can't. I don't know either way.
It's so unconstitutional to have an executive order like that, to say that your opinion matters over the American people.
I would
agree. He's had more
executive orders. About the executive order part.
He's had more executive orders since he's been president than all the other presidents combined, times a lot. He's had so many because of what he thinks is right, that we shouldn't be allowed to vote on it. That's leaning a little socialist to me.
The one thing I want to make a point of here real quick, and we'll discuss this before we go to break, is that we've seen a lot of East Coast states. We have, of course, 9 of the 11 are along the East Coast or in the Mid-Atlantic. The states have favorable same-sex marriage laws. Greg, give us your thoughts here. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, that's because they're mainly liberal states. They're kind of pushing the agenda. They're kind of showing that, trying to make it more socially acceptable, making that be the more norm.
Aaron, give us your thoughts. You agree that it's because of their liberal states that's why we're seeing such a trend, especially in the Northeast. We've seen Of course, Massachusetts, and now Delaware moving down the coastline. Of course, New York passed it as well, one of the biggest state to do so. Is that why you think?
I think it's a little bit of both. I know, like California is still up in the air with that, but I definitely think economics has a way to play in with it. I know the East Coast is doing better economically. Unemployment rates are down, but West Coast, everything's kind of up and more. So we'll see.
Again, 9 of the 11 states in the Northeast and along the Mid-Atlantic. So kind of interesting to see. Perhaps we talked about the affluence as well. That might be another thing. But moving west, California, of course, one of the states a lot of people thought would be very well on this, of course, but Proposition 8 took to the Supreme Court, and it didn't pass. It didn't pass in California, that was. So we'll be looking for that ruling this summer as well.
That's kind of surprising, too. I wouldn't really expect that.
No, I didn't either. And again, we'll be looking for that ruling this summer. A lot of good Supreme Court rulings that come up this summer if you're getting your Supreme Court fixed for this summer.
Yeah.
Kind of weird, but hey, you gotta look forward to some of these big laws. So we're gonna take a break here on Face the Campus. No actual bottom line prepared, but a few thank yous coming up. Stay tuned.
Looking for a good time, it's gotta be Wasteland Live. We've had a lot on the show this year, a lot of big stories, a lot of big topics, and perhaps nothing bigger than election night. And so as I mentioned before we went to break, I want to thank everyone for their really hard work on election night. Here for 4 hours, both these two, Aaron and Greg, were with us on election night, and that was a very long night. I can't tell you how long it actually took me to kind of just go home and settle down from 4 hours. It was a marathon broadcast. We want to thank everyone for their hard work on that. One of the other things I want to thank, we see a lot of great graphics on this show every night. Rick McClellan, for his station manager, for his hard work on that. The ticker, I'm a sucker for the motion graphics, and Rick finally got it to work, so we want to thank him for that as well. Just so many big thank yous for everyone who has put this show together, helped in some way, shape, or form. Again, I'm not reading off a script right now, but I email that script to the Wednesday producers, and I get a few lovely little tidbits from them about me being kind of lazy about it. But hey, they got to do some work too, right? So we'll kid about that. But no, we want to thank them for that as well. So any other big thank yous, of course, goes to the analysts. We'll come back here to get some face time for these two seniors who have put in such a lot of great amount of hard work. So Greg, thank you so much for all the hard work of the last 2 years getting this show started. Since my freshman year, he's been on and really been a great asset to this show, so thank you.
Well, thank you.
Aaron as well, thank you so much. Been a big help this semester, and of course election night so much. I'm pretty sure Mike Friend would have been running that rodeo by himself on the sports set. So big help, and thank you so much for that as well. And of course, a lot of analysts on this show. Nick is a senior, he'll be back for semester, so we've had a lot of just good talent on the show this year, and of course, bringing on some new people next semester. So we want to thank everyone for their hard work here tonight on Face the Campus. And for the last time, that was the bottom line. We'll have one last year of great shows next year. Until then, have a good night and a good summer, Clarion.